Hey, Mediocre Gamer fam, what's going on? It is I, Anthony Elliott. I'm here with my best friend in the world, AJ. AJ, how are you doing in the red room today?
I'm good. Yeah, my room is oddly red on my camera. My lights haven't changed at all. Nothing's changed. My camera's the same. It didn't move from our last recording session, but my room decided to be red on just camera today. So I guess I'm in the red room today for our happy St. Patrick's video. By the way, I know this is going to come out
Happy St. Patty's.
the day after St. Patrick's Day, but we still wanted to get into the spirit a bit by dressing in green and mentioning that it's happening. But we are going to completely avoid anything about St. Patrick's Day within the gaming sphere and talk about really a unique topic that I don't think it's talked about a whole lot, but it's also kind of a confusing and hard topic in a way to talk about.
It is.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that just to kind of not even pivot, but just to give a little bit of context, Sony earlier this year said that they don't really intend on releasing any big AAA titles, which is interesting at the time of us recording this. Final Fantasy Rebirth has just come out, like maybe a week ago, maybe. And people are loving it, and it's a huge, really cool experience. But when you take a step back and you consider the fact that it's open zone and not open world, and it is a pretty streamlined experience, and it is a really pretty game, and it is a really long game, ultimately, it's kind of a double A experience with a whole lot of kind of polish and nip and tuck and all this cool stuff done. And it just led us to another point of the fact that we predicted this. AJ, do you remember? I believe it was our last episode we did of the year. Y'all go back and watch that. I feel like there'll be a link somewhere. I'll probably go back and find it and be like, AJ, please. But yeah, we said, hey, going forward into today, or into this year, we're gonna have more AA experiences than not, and those are gonna be really great. And AJ, we might be right.
Definitely between AAA and indie games, they are on a huge rise. They're more popular than they've been in a while. I'm not going to say of all time because, of course, a lot of those dominated that PS2 era, GameCube, all that, like, because it was a lot cheaper to go try crazy new things. And we're coming out of this online almost only era of games. That it's really nice to see a bit of a change, because we still have our large online presence, but we also are starting to get back that single player or couch co-op experience. And there's just a lot that's come out, not just this last year, but even in few more recent years, I guess is the point I'm trying to say, of really, really good games. One that like stands out to me a lot is It Takes Two,
Yep.
Couch co-op. Really, I miss it a lot. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be like one sitting next to them on the couch. It's always love it when it's an option. Always really appreciate it. But at the same time, it's nice when it's just a co-op geared game, even if it's online. And It Takes Two is a prime example of a lot of quality in gameplay, in environments, and storytelling. But it's definitely a smaller budget, smaller area, smaller game, smaller scope, but also a smaller price along with that.
And then another game that actually fits perfectly into this category is Helldivers 2. Like, it's everything you just said, plus, well, maybe minus the story. That it doesn't really exactly have a story. There's lore to set up the setting. It's not exactly a story per se. And yeah, Helldivers 2, which is obviously has been a massive success. It's like falling under the weight of its own success, which is good, but also bad, but ultimately good.
Yeah, no, it really is, because I mean, it's struggling to even keep up with servers. Like, people can't even play half the time, which is wild to me. Especially when it's backed by Sony.
Notably, it's only on console, not console, it's only on PC. Console is apparently like the smoothest experience, which AJ, was that on your bucket list that console was gonna have the smoothest experience of any game version? Are you
I guess I wouldn't have predicted it. I wouldn't have predicted it, but I'm not surprised just because console has a higher install base. So makes sense what you would want to focus those servers over PCs. I mean, it makes sense. I hate to see it, but it makes sense. I mean, it's fine.
Why do you hate that? Why can't the console listen?
I shouldn't say hate to see it. It's more or less I wish everyone was treated equally and we all got the same amount of effort. That's what I hate to see.
Wow.
There shouldn't be a side winning over another. It should just, hey, like, these are the servers that, you know, they're equal quality for everyone.
Wow.
I obviously don't understand how that all works. I don't, you know, I'm not in the background behind all it. It's probably easier said than done.
Hey, we're mediocre gamers. We're not mediocre developers. Okay. Our goal is gaming world peace.
Yeah, exactly. And one way there is being equal on servers. Now, Helldivers 2 is an interesting case though, because along with a lot of discussion around AAA versus AA games is does it technically classify as a AA or a AAA game, right? I mean, it has it's not this grand scope such as, like, let's say God of War, right? That's no doubt a AAA game.
Or Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, yes. Grand scale, big, detailed, rich maps, bunches of mechanics, super long stories, all this stuff. But at the same time, they're all really polished games. The mechanics are phenomenal. The graphics are amazing. And really, Helldivers hits all those points except for the story, of course. And yeah, it doesn't have a big open world like GTA, but that's not the kind of game it is. It just wouldn't fit the gameplay. And so it leads to this hard conversation between a lot of games, not just Helldivers. I'm using as an example of what is a AA game versus a AAA game. You know, where is that line in the sand? And shoot, you can even go down and say, like, a game like Hi-Fi Rush, where I think, you know, that's a good AAA game or AA game, a good example of that. But that also could be classified as an indie. Xbox helped push it, but, like, you know, before all that, I mean, it was small enough to where, like, it could be in that category too. So it's, like, hard to find where that line is drawn.
Hi-Fi Rush is an interesting example, and then we're seeing this a lot more in just gaming in general, where indie games, which most indie games are AA games, or even just, like, they're either one-off experiences or, like, really interesting AA experiences. There's almost no in between right now. But there are exceptions to that rule. Remedy is an example. Alan Wake 2 is for sure a AAA game, but it's also made by an indie studio. I mean, granted, they're owned by, like, Take-Two, so, like, maybe they got a whole lot of backing, but one company who that does not apply to is Larian. Larian is all bars, no holds barred. This is what I'm trying to say. I'm not having a stroke, I swear. It's just hot. They're an indie studio, and they made Baldur's Gate 3, as well as, like, Divinity Original Sin 2 and the other Divinity Original Sin. They made a grip of games, and most of them are actually very weird, but they made Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, looking at Baldur's Gate 3, and knowing zero background, you would go, without a doubt, AAA game. It's a quality of a AAA, has the size of a AAA, has the map of a AAA, more than a AAA on a lot of these.
The complexity of a AAA.
Yes, like, it has all these things of a AAA, but it's made by a small studio. So in all if you want to look at it on paper from a technicality standpoint, it's an indie game, which is, I would say, arguably not even accurate anymore at this point. I mean, when you can make a game to this scale, it's not an indie, but it is, because, like, the whole definition of indie is it's a smaller studio. It doesn't matter what kind of game it is. So it's like, where's the line? Like,
are you okay? You're gonna like blow a gas. You're gonna, like, get so upset. Red room is gonna turn green.
That's why it's red today. That's why it's red today. I came in hot.
Oh, wow. I mean, take off the jacket. That might help. It's funny. It's actually hot down here in Alabama. It's like a high of, like, 76 out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, same here in Nebraska. It's
hot.
I'm all right with it.
50 degrees.
I'm in love with it. I played tennis yesterday with a friend of mine. It was Sunday. And it was, we played for a little over 2 hours because we were so tired, but we were like, nope, not done. It's too nice of a day to go inside. Like, I just want to be outside.
Listen, that's how I felt about today. But, like, also it's hot. And also, I have a different kind of heat because I'm in the South where it's humid. And so you sweat like a dying pig. But this is a gaming podcast, not a weather podcast. That would be fun. But, another game that kind of to consider as a double A. It's probably technically a triple A, and I know a lot of y'all are in the comments like, how do these idiots not know what a double A and a triple game? How did you not know? Because it's hard, dude. It's really hard to say. Okay, I need you to understand. Skull and Bones, this game that just came out was pitched to us as a quadruple A game, and that game is on par with a lot of indie games.
It's Facts. Below par of Black Flag, which is a AAA game.
Don't get me started. I don't want to get started on Black Flag and how Skull and Bones is the greatest step down in gaming history, because a lot of people worked very hard on it. It only came down because they owed the Singaporean government money. Whew. Anyway,
and are you sure you don't need to be in a red room?
First of all, I don't want to be in a red room. We've talked about how nothing good happens in red rooms unless you just go there to hang out and you're just meditating while just it smells like sex and desire, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's nice here. I'm gonna just like nothing good happens.
That's what I'm doing right here. You kidding me? With my wall of virginity, you don't think that I have tons of sex in this room?
The wall of virginity is actually hilarious. Oh, Jesus. We're going to move on to video games now. Dragon's Dogma 2. I will find any excuse ever to talk about this game.
You certainly will.
I would. Yeah. I've been getting on AJ's nerves talking about this fucking game because it looks so good. AJ, have you looked into this game at all? You can say no. I'm just asking.
I have a bit, not a whole lot because it doesn't speak to me, but a bit just for you.
Okay. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I feel so special. But yes, no, Dragon's Dogma 2. First of all, it's made in the RE engine, the same engine as the Resident Evil remakes. I feel like I've said this on this podcast. I'm gonna say it till it's not true, and it won't be not true. And it looks so good. I also wouldn't have guessed that that engine is capable of making such robust combat and combat scenarios. That is astonishing to me.
It looks really good. It does. But I still stand by. It looks like an upgraded Monster Hunter co-op.
I'll give you that. And you know what? I would say a fluid Monster Hunter because it's very similar to Monster Hunter. But Monster Hunter and a lot of Monster Hunter people are gonna hate us, and you can hate us. That's fine. It's still true. A lot of Monster Hunter's combat is just clunky. It's not bad clunky, but it's clunky. There are like animations that just look weird. That like most animations look weird. But Dragon's Dogma 2, it has a little bit of that Monster Hunter clunk, but it's a lot more fluid. You can climb the monsters. You can actually blind them, apparently.
See, and like I would rather, if I'm gonna play that kind of game, I'd rather play Dragon's Dogma 2. So I mean, I'll give it that. You know, I'm not gonna knock it. You know, but like those kind of games lose me personally. Like Monster Hunter, I've tried, couldn't get into it. It's not my kind of thing. So I don't think Dragon's Dogma 2 is, but no, I don't have time for a grind. There's too much shit I want to play. I don't have time for that shit. That's why I dropped Destiny and Warframe. I love those games, but my God, I don't have my life to give to them. Too much shit I want to do.
Wow, AJ. What's a game that's on your list that you maybe possibly potentially would consider giving a lot more time than average to?
Another one that I really need to do, and I've been neglecting, is Nier Automata.
Ooh, yes. Automata. I don't know how you actually pronounce that.
I think I did it right.
It's 50-50, dog.
Automata, I don't know. But I one of those is right. I'm sure of that at least. Anyways,
hopefully.
That game looks super fun. I've heard so many good things about it. And I've got to. Oh my gosh. Okay. I gotta try that, but I gotta throw in one more I completely didn't even think about till now. That I'm a massive stan for. Gravity Rush.
Oh, how could I?
Yeah, I can't believe I almost forgot about that. Absolutely. For anyone who hasn't played it and doesn't know much about it, Gravity Rush is a game where, you know, you're dropped into this world, you got amnesia, kind of like a basic anime kind of plot, nothing too crazy. And you can control the gravity around you and some other objects that they don't go too crazy into that. And so you could practically fly by shifting your gravity. So, you know, you'll be going through the air, you could turn and shift gravity that way and whatever, and run on walls and all the things. And then, you know, there's monsters and everything that take over. But the gameplay is just so fun and satisfying and so unique.
Oh my goodness!
Can't recommend that.
I remember the first time I remember the first time I played it. I had to be in like a Walmart. I was in like a Walmart. They had like the demo on like a
Yeah.
PSP back in the day because it came out on PS Vita originally.
PSP, I think.
It might have been PSP.
Yeah, I think it was.
It might have been PSP because I remember I think it was a PSP exclusive. And then everybody was like, "This game is actually bitching."
Oh, Vita,
and it's
you're
interesting.
Right. Vita.
It came out on Vita. Okay, yeah. It's just we wanted it to be the PSP because PSP like was a cultural moment. But yes, no. Oh my gosh, I remember just playing it, and I remember hearing like reviews and stuff, just like, "Hey, listen, imagine you play as a superhero, except when you fly, it's gravity pulling you in a direction, so you're really falling through the sky, and so you have to think about how you land when you get to where you're going." And like you can slow down your gravity, and there are ways that you can manipulate it. And then like a lot of it's actually puzzle based, and so you have to think about like where you're flying and how you're flying and why you're flying this way. And then also there are enemies that attack you as you solve these puzzles, and it becomes a lot cooler than it should be. I remember they made Gravity Rush 2, and it was like more of the same. And so that's probably why we're not getting to Gravity Rush 3 anytime soon. But
no, it's not gonna happen. But I would absolutely love a third one. Phenomenal game.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And that Gravity Rush is the definition of a AA game. That is the game people think of when people think of AA games. And like, granted, there are some bad ones. You remember Fracture from LucasArts? Do you remember that game?
Yes.
For those of us who don't remember Fracture from LucasArts, the people that made Star Wars and Indiana Jones, it was a game. First of all, it was a third-person shooter, not unlike a Gears of War, except it wasn't a cover shooter. Now, the biggest kind of appeal of this game is that you can manipulate the ground. Why is it called Fracture? Don't ask me. I don't remember. There's a lore reason, and it's stupid. But basically, you could just point your weapon, and at any given point, as long as it was dirt, you can either make the ground concave or you can elevate it. And so you could, like, let's say, oh man, I got to get on top of this building, but there's no quick way. You can just make a hill and climb up and jump up. Or it's like, oh man, I got to get under this fence, but it's not a dome or a bubble. So you just go under, you like make the ground concave. It was an interesting idea, but the game was also like 4 hours long. So
yeah. really, really sad to see such a cool potential go to waste. Another really fun idea that I think turned out into a decent product, but you know, definitely could have been better. Biomutant by THQ Nordic.
Yeah, and you want to talk about games? We're not getting it anymore. We're not getting another Biomutant.
No.
Not because it was a bad idea. It was actually a really, really cool idea. And for those of us listening who don't know what Biomutant is, I know we're shooting a lot of game names at you, but it's a gaming podcast. Get used to it, baby. We love you. Biomutant is a game. I don't know a better way to describe it. You play as a Biomutant. You create your own character, and you get to hone skills. So maybe you really want to be like the sharpshooter with 2 guns, jumping around, doing some John Wick stuff. You can do that. Maybe you want to be like a swordsman and get a sword, cut a bunch of people's heads off. You can do that. And you can kind of level up and play how you want. It's also a little lackluster and kind of samey with the combat. And while the world is interesting, it's not interesting enough that you want to keep playing to the end. I don't know anyone who's beaten it, but it's very fun.
I've 100%ed it.
Ah, shit. Why didn't you tell me before I started talking?
I'm gonna springboard a little bit to make it sound a little bit better. Think instead of just a Biomutant, you're Rocket Raccoon. That's in a post-apocalyptic world with, you know, you've been touched by radiation, so you're, you know, got some special shit going on there. And yeah, you build either guns or weapons or both. You combo into each other and go through. And as someone who's 100%ed it, don't 100% it, it's not that good. I mean, it's good. If it's $30, I would say is a great price for it. I think that's fair.
That's valid.
It's like an open world kind of thing. Go on different quests, help out different animals and whatnot. You get little mounts and stuff. You know, there's some elemental damage and whatever you can go into if you like that side of things. You know, you can beat it without going too technical. It's a very short game. The story's very whatever. There's even like a whole faction side where you help like a war between factions going on and stuff. So there's a lot of cool ideas, but none of them come together to make it like to be ultra refined. You know, like there's always good ideas and none of them are made perfect. So
yeah, and then if you're looking at any combat of Biomutant, it looks like a freaky Devil May Cry, but it does not play like a freaky Devil May Cry.
That's a great way with like comic book style fighting, kind of with like words popping out and like flashes and stuff. So yeah, no, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
Biomutant's a game that I really want a second one, but it's never gonna happen, like you said. But
yeah, listen, if they made another Biomutant, that might save Xbox, because right now they got a Stalker 2. Dog, a Biomutant 2 would shake up the gaming community. And then watch this, AJ, imagine this for just a second. What if it's actually the game? Like, because the game that they tried to make, from what I could gather, it was like Fallout New Vegas meets Devil May Cry set in a freaky post-apocalyptic world where everything is radioactive and anthropomorphic. Like,
yeah, that was the vision for sure. And it felt like they really focused on the fighting and exploration more than the Fallout once. I feel like that happened partway through because Breath of the Wild started doing so good. I think that's a lot of it, because it definitely has those like vibes of just exploring through the landscape and finding stuff. Which, I mean, is fun.
Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are both AAA games. I'm sorry not to cut you off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
AAA, 1000.
But it feels like they try to capture that magic. And then, again, you know, writing also, it feels like a bit on Rocket Raccoon's trails of, like, you know, you're literally scrapping the other trash you find in a dumpster to make a gun and stuff, where it's like, you know, definitely had Rocket Raccoon vibes from Marvel.
Man, that could be so cool. But let's talk about a game that I don't know is actually going to be cool, but it's AA, baby. No Rest for the Wicked. This is an action RPG coming from the team that made Ori and the Will of the Wisps. It's an isometric RPG, and apparently it's a game. And so here's the problem, right? Because I want to like it, but they made 2 really great Metroidvanias with Ori, and so now
those are both AA themselves, I believe.
1000% AA. 1000% AA. And now they're trying to do something a little bit bigger. It's still AA. It doesn't feel AAA. And it doesn't look AAA. It looks good. Not to say it looks bad, but it doesn't have that extra polish where it's like, oh yeah. And yeah, it's a isometric RPG where you play in a fantasy world. And so I think that might kind of lead us to the problem of a lot of AA games, because I'm telling you this not very enthusiastically, because I've seen it. It looks like Dragon's Dogma, but like a lot less interesting.
What game? I don't. Maybe I didn't.
No Rest for the Wicked.
Got it.
No Rest for the Wicked. Yeah. Yeah. See.
Oh my god.
See, it's very whatever. Yeah, I told you. I literally see.
Hold on. How it was worded? Because you were like No Rest for the Wicked for AA games. So I thought you were saying like, we don't have Rest for the Wicked for AA games, moving on to the next one kind of thing.
Oh, that's what you thought?
Yeah, now, you have
the craziest part.
So confused.
The craziest part about this whole thing is that I told you we crossed notes, ladies and gentlemen. We said the names of the games that we were listing. We don't have any overlap, which is fun. And I was like, hey, here's the game, No Rest for the Wicked. I was like, it looks forgettable, but like I'm kind of interested. And you're like, oh, okay, that is a little interesting. And you forgot about this game that I said looks kind of forgettable. You see where we're going with this? This is the problem with a lot of AA games, is that while they are interesting, while they do look cool, they don't really have that wow factor. Something like a Biomutant. Shit, the first Infamous.
Yeah.
That was a AA experience. They became AAA experiences later after the first one did so good.
Yeah, it definitely was a lot smaller in scale, and when you compare it to 2, I mean, it's way smaller in scale. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry about forgetting. And the funny thing is, I knew what game you were talking about, so I was like, I'm gonna wait for him to say it, and then
You wait for me to say the title after I said the title.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah,
man. At this point, hey, Sony, I know you guys don't have any huge releases planned, even though again, Final Fantasy just came out. I guess that's not y'all's. Y'all not claiming it. It's like a deadbeat child to y'all. I don't care. My point is, just give us another Infamous. Time out. Specifically following what was the young lady with neon powers? I forget her name. Yeah, Second Light.
First
Light. Give me Infamous Second Light, dude. Just make it and make it great. That's all we need. That's all you need to submit the console wars. That's it. If you make Infamous Second Light, people will be like, yeah, no, you're right.
Dude, I want it so bad because Second Son ended on like such a good gameplay note for the series. Like,
yeah,
even going back to, yeah, no. But even going back today to that gameplay for a release day PS4 game, so it's old at this point. It still feels really pretty good. I mean, definitely not as good as new games, but like, it still feels really good in its own right. I want them to come out with a new one so bad. Unfortunately, they said, never say never, but there are no plans as of right now to make another Infamous. So I am.
Well,
and they said that about Sly Cooper too.
But you got to think about it like this too. Sucker Punch is kind of focused on Ghost of Tsushima, and that. Now you want to talk about a AAA experience. First of all, I remember the moment that I decided I was going to play this game, and I never did, so I lie to myself all the time. But I remember it was a gameplay thing where like you hit the button for like your waypoint or whatever, and the wind would guide the camera to where you need to go.
So cool. And you just gotta follow the wind.
And I was like, what? And then like the player was like riding on a horse, and like they just saw a fox just sitting down, just a fox. And it was like, oh, like I guess I'll just follow the fox. And the fox took you to a shrine that gave you powers. I mean, it was probably, I think it was just an upgrade actually. My point is, there's a lot of environmental storytelling that you cannot see in a AA game. Whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's whatever, you cannot see that. Now, if they make another Infamous and make that a AA game, I don't know, with that polish.
And that's another one that I don't think they'd make it a AA at this point. Though I think it'd be a full blown AAA unless they handed it off to another studio to make it. But
what if? Okay, time out. What if? And this is a big what if. It's not gonna happen. But what if they pulled a Fallout New Vegas and they just licensed out the Infamous name, and they're like, hey, y'all can do what the fuck ever as long as we make X amount of dollars by the end. And they trip and make Infamous Second Light, and they go crazy. Who would it be? I don't know. Probably Remedy. Remedy could do it.
Remedy could be, especially if their experience behind Control. It's a little more high intensity than Control is, but that's not to say that they couldn't handle it, because Control is a lot more high intensity than Alan Wake is. So, speaking of which, the first Alan Wake could almost be considered a AAA, or not AAA, a double A.
That's definitely a AA. The second one, people forget how kind of shitty the first game kind of is.
Well, it's quick. It's short. It's
short. It's not that pretty. The gameplay is very simple.
Very linear.
But the difference is, my God, is it scary, and my God, is the story good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the story for it is super amazing, but that's the thing is, like, a good story doesn't make it AAA or AA. That's just all up to the writing. And whoever came with the initial idea. But getting back to true AA's, another one that I think deserves a lot of recognition. It's super good. Brought me back to nostalgia without even having to play it originally. Psychonauts 2.
Yeah.
You know, the 1 and 2, really, the Psychonauts series. I want more platformers to come back. 3D platformers are my shit. And so Psychonauts 2 really spoke to me. Of course, 1 also. And I never played 1 as a kid either. I played both back to back, not like pretty much right when 2 released. And I absolutely loved them. Absolutely phenomenal games. And those are definitely AAA games. They're AA, my God.
See, but it's hard to tell. I mean, granted, like, that's like very cut and dry, but it is hard to tell most times.
A good example of hard to tell, right? Would you, whoops, that's probably loud. Would you consider Super Mario Bros. Wonder a AA or a AAA? Sorry, what?
AAA.
AAA? AAA?
Yeah.
I would too, but then if it was made by not Nintendo and didn't have Mario's face on it, but the same amount of polish, the same everything, is it a AA or AAA? You know,
I would say yes, even though it is like very open zone and not necessarily open world. All the mechanics that you can do. Oh, it is open world?
Wonder is the 2D one that came out recently.
Oh shit, AJ. I'm thinking about Odyssey. There are too many Mario games, goddammit. Okay, walking back. Wonder, got it. With Elephant Mario. Do they explain it? No, they don't. They do?
No. I was just saying, yes, you're right. It's Elephant Mario. Yes.
Okay. Same amount of polish and everything. Same game, except it's like a baby robot instead of Mario or something.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know why I said a baby robot.
It's Chibi Robo.
Damn. Huh.
Right? Because like
because I want to say yes, but
it's Mario's premier 2D title. How is that not AAA? But at the same time, it's like, well, then you compare it to God of War. It's like, whoa, it doesn't even
it feels night and day.
Doesn't come close to the amount of time, resources, and effort that went in. Not to say that they didn't put a bunch of that into Mario Wonder. I'd say it's AAA because when you compare it to other AA games, it's like some peak AA game in platforming. But does that just make it a AAA? Like, again, the line's hard. So I think
here's another tough one. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Minecraft.
Minecraft, I would almost argue, is indie.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not anymore because it's now owned by Microsoft and now all this stuff. But I would say it's indie that became, I'd argue,
But it's hard, right? Because it's always been a big ass open world, literally from the inception.
But
it was a big ass procedural open world.
AAA either, because it's a simple open world. There's not a bunch of quests. There's not like a lot to do besides just survive.
But you can say the same thing now. And then earlier and when it first came out, it was a little bit easier because you didn't have hunger, you didn't have things like thirst.
Yeah, but with updates, I would say it's AA at this point. I don't think it deserves triple.
Kind of crazy.
I don't think it deserves triple.
I would say with certain mods, it could become a AAA game, but we're not talking about that.
No. I would say it's double. I'm gonna leave it at that. Another one that I surprised runner. I randomly got it at a game store. I was like, oh, this game looks fun. I'm gonna see what it's like. Ghost Runner. I don't know if you've ever played it, Anthony.
Oh yeah, dog. Dog. Dog.
Oh yeah. So for anyone out there who doesn't know or hasn't played Ghost Runner, first of all, highly recommend it. You could get it for like $20 for your. I did it on my Switch. The graphics were a little worse, but I thought it was a fun Switch game because it's pretty quick. But it's gonna look a lot better on your PC. Anyways, Ghost Runner is like a game where you're like a cyberpunk kind of robot ninja thing. And you're doing parkour. It's all about like parkour and like killing enemies before they see you. Because if you get hit once, you kind of reset. It's like it's like
Hotline Miami, but first person in Cyberpunk.
Thank you. Prime example. Yeah. So you just kind of re-go from checkpoint immediately as soon as you die, and so you have to just keep like finding the right path to get through everyone. And it's super quick. Boss fights are some of the coolest boss fights I've ever seen. Just how the mechanics work. You know, obviously they're not like memorable in design or anything, but the mechanics are like, it truly feel like a sword fight.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Ghost Runner 2, have you checked that out?
Yes.
Dog, the fact that they added a motorcycle and it feels like a completely different game.
Crazy.
Like the part where you're driving down the side of like a 89-story skyscraper and you're shooting at everything and you go from there to the street, you get the chase going, you got the thing that's just like, and we're gonna need a detour, and you go another direction, you jump off and you sword fight. It's insane. It's actually insane. However, I would argue it's still a AA game, which is also kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just doing a big bombastic scene doesn't mean it's AAA. It's the game as a whole, right? And while that part was certainly cool and reminiscent of a AAA title, no, it doesn't make it AAA. I agree with you.
For sure. And then, but it's really tricky.
Absolutely.
Let's see. What's another one? We've talked about this game to death, but we'll talk about it some more. Power World. I think it's a AA. I feel it's a AA.
I think right now it's a AA, but it's also unfinished. They were like 60% of the way through the game, when they released the early access. It's hard. I think by the time it comes out, it might be cracking that AAA, even though it doesn't have the insane graphics. Graphics don't mean everything, though. I mean, look at Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker. Absolutely a AAA game, but it's cel shaded, so I don't think the looks make it as much as people believe they do. Graphics do. I think with everything they have, and if they expand on the mechanics they have in the way I think they will, I think it has every right to be called a AAA. But right now, for sure, it's a AA. It's too basic not to be.
And again, it's impressive they made this game for $7 million. I hope, I can only hope and pray that the studios take that note and go, you know what, maybe we should fund some of these smaller games, some of these tighter ideas. I doubt it, but I think they might be proving me wrong, and so I might just need to keep making podcast videos with my friend AJ.
I think we need to. Another another one that kind of reminds me of It Takes Two in a completely different vibe. A Way Out, where it's another 2-player.
Yeah, wasn't that made by the same developer?
It is. I didn't think about it. It is.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, so it's the same kind of thing where it's you and your buddy are working together to get through everything. Like it requires both you to put in the work. But in this one, instead of marriage that's falling apart and you're having to try to get de-toyified, this time you're trying to break out of a prison with your accomplice, and so that and you're working together with a teammate throughout all that. And I think that's another really cool. Has a neat story, not too long, but it's a really unique gameplay, and it really focuses you and your friends working together. And that's just my favorite.
Quick side note. We got a tricky one. All right, you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's play triple or double A. All right. Lies of P.
No, that's triple. That's triple. Doesn't matter if
Is
it's.
it?
I consider that triple. Doesn't matter if it's like an offshoot of Dark Souls, and it's not as grand or as big as Dark Souls, which of course are AAA. Doesn't matter. If Dark Souls weren't a thing, we would without a doubt be saying yes, this is a AAA game.
Okay. Made you think though.
It did because it's not as big as those games, but is it really that much smaller? No.
It's pretty small compared. I mean, when you compare it to Elden Ring,
yeah, I say
Elden Ring is
irrelevant in that. Elden Ring might as well be quadruple A. I'm talking about Dark Souls, what it's originally based off of, which those are all AAA games. And if that's the case, why isn't Lies of P?
Huh. Well, I feel, does the goalpost move with each generation? Because Dark Souls 3, when it came out, I remember in high school, it was all the rage. It was the game. Mm-hmm. It was you weren't a gamer if you didn't have Dark Souls 3. And then the next console generation came. They gave us Bloodborne and Sekiro. Again, AAA experiences, 1000%. Sekiro is intimidatingly difficult.
But those things don't make it AAA. Difficulty.
That's right.
And giant open world doesn't make it. Now, a big filled open world with lots of good and unique content like Elden Ring has definitely puts it up there. But it's amalgamation of all those things that make it AAA. And just because Elden Ring has been made, I mean, if you want to make that argument, then hardly anything is AAA anymore when you compare it to Baldur's Gate 3 then. With how much they put into that and how many hours you can get out of that. Then Alan Wake 2 is a double A without a doubt, if that's the case.
Yeah. I want to get the Time Magazine, like, Game of the Year Alan Wake. I want to get that framed, because I think it's so funny. I think it's
That'd be
so
great.
Funny.
Yeah, no, I would love it. That would look good, like, right over there.
Just have the Time Magazine Alan Wake. It's funny.
But yeah, no, so I without a doubt would say Lies of P is a AAA, just based on other games that we say are. Yeah.
Okay. Cool beans. One game that is definitely AA. Hellblade 2. Probably it's not out yet. First Hellblade is great and this is a big if they somehow improve the gameplay and the combat and add on to the story of the first game, which was already again great. I could see a Game of the Year contender. I mean, I said the same thing about Dragon's Dogmas 2 though, so
you have plenty of times.
Hey, you don't tell the people on my business.
And Hellblade 2, I think honestly is an argument to become AAA depending on how it releases. Depending on the final product we get, I could see it being pushed up into the AAA sphere. I mean, the amount of work they're putting into it looks like they're putting a lot more of a budget in. It's gonna be a lot more cinematic. It's almost giving me God of War vibes with the movie like feel it's gonna have, the scripted feel that I think at a certain point it might cross over into that AAA sphere.
Ooh, I don't know if they're still indie. I don't know if they got bought because everyone's getting bought now. Which is bittersweet because now they have consistent paychecks and they don't have to worry about how this next game is gonna do because they got good old daddy Sony gonna pat them on the back, give them whatever money they need. But
you don't have job security with that though, because then you look at the layoffs that happen every especially lately, it's the worst it's ever been. It seems like.
I promise you, I thought you were having a stroke when you started that sentence. Like, I knew you were gonna stick the landing, but I was like, "Is he okay? Is the red room getting to him?"
It is pretty hot and steamy in here.
Take off your fucking jacket.
It's green. I can't. I got as much green on as I can.
You got the screen. I have a green shirt on. This is from a convention though. I don't know if that detracts or make it more. Whatever. What was I saying? Shit.
I don't know. You never got even into it.
Jesus, this is so dumb. You can't even tell it's green because the room's red. You got your green background. This is insane.
It's camo, so you kind of.
Oh, it's cam. Oh, got it. I see it now. Yeah. I see it now. Okay. The light had to hit it. The red light had to hit the green light so I can see the texture.
I still don't understand. I don't understand why it's
red.
I did nothing different. But it's red today.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, we're gonna get back to AAA game. We could really honestly do this all day.
We really could.
I was gonna say we're getting a little close on time, and again, we could literally do this all day. If y'all want us to do this some more, please let us know. Like, comment, subscribe. I haven't said that in the video today.
I would love to. And here's the thing. I mean, yeah, we can go back and forth on games all day. The list goes on and on of AA games, especially if you look throughout the years. What I'd like to hear from you guys, the viewers, down in the comments, what's some of your favorite AA games you've experienced? Where do you, and on top of that, I'd love to hear where you guys think the line is. Where do we draw the line on AA versus AAA or indie versus AA? Because it's this really weird gray line where it's up to opinion on what's what. I mean, look at us with Liza P. We didn't really agree on that because we think it is, regardless of whether we agree it's a AA or AAA, it's on the line.
It's a huge AA.
I think we can agree.
If we consider it a AA.
Agree on it's right on the line. And I think there's tons of games that fit into that. And so I would love to hear what you guys think.
You could make the argument of Alan Wake 2 being AA when you consider how linear it is.
You could
genuinely make that argument.
You could make that argument, absolutely. I think again we pushed into AAA with this one, but it definitely is on the lower side.
It's just interesting because like Control, AAA, 1000%. Alan Wake 2 takes place in the same universe, but it is a lot smaller in the grand scheme of things. It is really intricate and it is really pretty. Like a lot of the time, oh my God, the amount of times I would just stop in that game and just be like, shit. Like, it's staggering. But at the same time, if Alan Wake 2 is AAA, then what are we gonna call Grand Theft Auto 5? Which I just played, like Grand Theft Auto 5 remastered on my PlayStation 5 recently. It feels like a different game. I don't know if it's because I'm shitty and I'm not in high school anymore, but it feels like a genuinely different experience. Even though it's the same thing, I've 100% that. Anemone. I 100%ed that game at least twice. So yeah. So it's tricky. Yeah. Because if Elden Ring is AAA, what is Alan Wake 2?
Yeah, because when you compare those two, it's like, oh, Alan Wake is for sure at least one, if not two tiers below Elden Ring, but that's because that game is just such a grand scale. I think coming up with the term quadruple A is actually fine in this day and age if you're not Skull and Bones, because when
they invented the term, AJ.
When you look at games like Elden
Ring,
Ring, Baldur's Gate, I would even argue Tears of the Kingdom, where you're doing these brand new things that have never been done in gaming mechanically or elsewhere on a giant grand scale that's like hard to even comprehend the amount of time that went into that. It's hard to even get to it all. Like, these are all games where it's like you had to put in hundreds of hours just to get every bit of content out.
I think for Tears of the Kingdom, it's thousands.
Yeah, like quite literally. I mean, it is at that point you put it in a tier of its own. I feel like, just
and it's the fact that we're still
massive.
I don't know if you saw this, but there's an engineering professor that's using Tears of the Kingdom in class because the physics mechanics are so good.
That's crazy.
Like, yeah, like they're like showing certain experiments and like I think somebody made a computer in Tears of the Kingdom. They did it with Minecraft, but you can do whatever you want in Minecraft.
Very basic binary computer, because the limit with Tears of the Kingdom versus Minecraft, they have the redstone and you can literally as big as you want. You know, it'll remember it. The world will remember it for the most part. I mean, there's a certain block distance, but it's you can make it decently
but
far.
If you operate within that,
but Tears of the Kingdom, you can only have like 15 parts out of it, 20, something like that. So there's only so much that can be done. But yes, they did make a binary computer. I saw that a while ago, and that's just so cool.
Yeah, what? Like, that's beyond true. That might be quadruple. AJ, Skull and Bones might be a bad game, but it gave us the term quadruple A for games like Tears of the Kingdom and not like Skull and Bones.
Yeah, no. Anyways, with all that being said, go out, play Elden Ring, Tears of the Kingdom, those big quadruple A games. Don't play Skull and Bones.
What?
That's the point I'm ending on.
I mean, listen. Also play Just Cause 2 because shit, that game is impressive. Considering that I played it on a 360.
Good, and that's also could borderline blur the lines between double and triple A, because I would consider it a double A game, but at the time it had the biggest world map out of any game.
It's still a really big fucking map.
Oh, it's still huge, and like each area feels very different, way more so than 3 and 4. Just because 3 and 4, those maps feel boring and bland in comparison. It had the grappling hook mechanics, the parachute mechanics. The driving felt good enough. You know, there's like a long enough story. It wasn't amazing, but it was serviceable. The all the guns, all the different interactions you could do. I mean, that is
I feel like Just Cause 2. I feel like Just Cause 2 is one of those games that is a mile wide, but like an inch deep. But I feel like it might be like maybe 2 inches deep because it is, again, big as fuck. Like, you can, if you genuinely wanted to, you can swim to the bottom of the ocean in that game. I've done it. You can genuinely do that. It's just, and you can go from these lush jungles to these pretty cities, and like literally I would be playing the game and be like, I feel like going into town today, and I would just go into the city. It was really wild. But the problem is that like you can't really interact with the NPCs. The cities are just placeholder. Even though it feels alive when you're looking at it, you can't do much in it. Same with a lot of the bases, a lot of the smaller villages. But yeah, like that would be, damn, Just Cause 2 is like a double A tech demo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially compared to now.
Oh, I would say a AAA tech demo. Like a tech demo of what AAA games could be if they had these fun... Like, if you took these fun mechanics and really pushed it into, like, a GTA-like experience, man, that'd be a fucking blast. But, so I would almost argue, just because 2 is more of a AAA just because of the time, but I'm going to put it at the top of AA. But then 3 and 4 are for sure AA games without a doubt. They just didn't improve at all.
3 and 4 are AA.
Stagnant. I think so. Like 3, the map is technically bigger, but it's all just hills, rolling hills. There's no real difference in environments. Yeah, there's a mountain, but okay, you did a mountain. Good job. And then they added a wingsuit, which made traversal way more fun, but that's just slightly improving that series. That doesn't just push it to a AAA just because you added a fucking wingsuit. And then you step back in every other aspect. And then 4, literally, here's, 2, and then here's 3, a little bump up, and then 4 is just to the side. They just
does something completely different.
Kept doing their thing and didn't change anything. Just, here's another one.
I want to play Just Cause 2 now. Just Cause, like, okay, and if you haven't played Just Cause 2, and we're going to wrap this up in just a second here. If you haven't played Just Cause 2, I need you to understand that this is a game where you can have intense shootouts with oil rigs with the entire military in the middle of a desert, and then 15, not even 15 minutes later, if depending on at what point in the game you are, you can have this intense chase off the side of a mountain, snow capped, just running around trying to shoot, trying to get away, just trying to survive. And then you drive off the side of a mountain, jump out, skydive a little bit, parachute, get down to a town at the bottom of the mountain. Also, the weather dynamics in that game are actually genuinely very impressive, because like it is dynamic weather. Sometimes it rains, sometimes you go to the mountains, it's snowing. Sometimes there's a lot in that game that is stupendously impressive. And yeah, Just Cause 3 and 4 are like a disappointment in almost every way. Kind of like Mercenaries and Mercenaries 2.
Yeah, I get that. I really enjoyed Mercenaries 2. I think it's a fun game.
The first?
No, because it just didn't. Well, yes, because it did. It advanced it a bit, but it kind of like going from like 2 to 3 and Just Cause is like it was so incremental. I think that it didn't do enough to make it. Where I look back on Just Cause 2 more fondly. Same with Mercenaries 1. But if I were to go back, I'd rather play 3 over 2. Just Causes, and I'd rather play Mercenaries 2 over 1.
All right. And then last one of the episode, and we will let everybody go because we've held you hostage. Mercenaries, AA, AAA.
Double.
It was a trick question, and you passed.
That was for sure double. The scope isn't as big on those. As Just Cause 2. When you look at that versus Just Cause 2, scope's not as big. And if Just Cause 2 is a double, that's for sure a double, like without a doubt. So anyways, as always, it's great talking to you guys. Great talking with you, Anthony. Look forward to next week, as always. I hope everyone had, since this will, by the time this airs, St. Patrick's Day will be the day before. So I hope everyone had a happy, somewhat healthy, safe St. Patrick's Day. Anthony, do you have anything else?
Those are all antonyms. We love you. We think about you and talk about you all the time. Like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us out tremendously. And we will talk to you in the next video. Peace. AJ, do your thing.
As always, guys, stay mediocre.